Hi, welcome to A Cleaner Plate. I'm Sabine St. Pierre, personal chef and owner of Sabine's Cuisine, and with me today, as always, really, is my co-host and my twin, Bethany Gary, personal trainer. I always like to throw that in.
I know, it's important.
And I feel like
because we do different things, but we kind of work together. So
yeah, well, we have the same focus. We want everyone to be healthy out there and live a long life.
Yes.
And today we're focusing on snacks. I've been very into snacking a lot lately. I don't know what it is.
Well, I think snacks are important because I think when people get hungry and they go for like the chips or pretzels and those kind of things, so if you have these on hand, then it's a much better way to go.
Good point.
Thank you.
And these are delicious. And I've been using these a lot too, like before workouts or right after workouts, if I can't eat an actual meal right away.
Right.
So, the three snacks we're going to focus on today are these muffins. They're called, someone passed along the recipe to me, so I don't even actually know who the origin is of this particular recipe, and I've Sabine's cuisined it, so.
Yes, as she does with everything.
I've switched it up a lot. So we're going to make these, they're called Morning Glory muffins. I think there's a couple different recipes out there, but this is the Sabine's Cuisine version of these Morning Glory muffins, and then we're going to make some coconut energy bites and protein bars later.
Perfect.
But let's get started with our mixtures. Now, Bethany, this is probably going to be your favorite episode because I always pick on her about not measuring.
She refuses to measure anything, but when you bake something, it is imperative.
It's very important.
To measure certain ingredients.
I know. Like, she caught me not quite measuring the carrots.
Well, carrots you might get away with, but things like...
You're the dry ingredients. Those
all right, that's sort of probably important.
Those are very, very important, and I did sort of measure some other things out. You're going to work on dry ingredients. I'm going to work on wet ingredients over here. So why don't you get started on that? I'm just going to be adding in an apple. I'm going to peel it and dice it up and throw it in the food processor. I'm going to make this do all the work for me. The recipe, original recipe called for shredding the carrots and grating them like on a cheese grater.
Oh, yeah.
And grating the apple.
That sounds time consuming,
But
but that's why they make food.
processor.
Maybe this recipe is really, really, really old.
before the equipment. And I also buy the shredded carrots. I always have them in my fridge.
Substitute.
And that way, so these I was like, oh, well, they're already partly done. So I throw them in there, and then the recipe did call for raisins, so I'm going to be throwing some dates in. So I'm going to get to work on that while Bethany talks to you about what she's got in there.
Right, and actually the recipe can't be that old unless because using almond flour.
It's
so
updated.
This, the base of the recipe called for all almond flour, but Sabine's Cuisine decided to Sabine's Cuisine it, and after some trial and error.
Sorry, I should have warned you.
Are you trying to drown me out?
Yeah.
She has experimented and added in, she's done, instead of 2.5 cups of the almond flour, we're going to do 1.5 cups of almond flour, or almond meal, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And she did 1 cup of whole wheat flour, because...
Well, and that's the white whole wheat flour, because I do find...
White whole wheat, right.
Whole wheat flour can be a little bit bitter, and not everybody loves it. When you make it with just all the almond meal, which I do often, it just tends to have a different texture than if you're looking for a traditional muffin texture.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that, but my kids mind it a little
Right.
bit. So if I want my kids to eat them.
I feel like 1 cup of flour is not bad.
And it's white whole wheat flour. There's
Right.
actually a lot of good nutritional value in there.
Yeah.
It ups the carbs a little bit, but does cut down on the fats, because almond meal does have, is a little bit high in fat,
Yeah.
but it's healthy fat.
And then we've got shredded unsweetened coconut. The unsweetened is really, really important because you can get a lot of sugar into some of these recipes by not paying attention to things like unsweetened shredded coconut, because they throw sugar in everything that's already sweet.
Do.
It drives me crazy.
I know. Did I tell the grapefruit story yet?
I don't remember the grapefruit story.
I was buying the tub of grapefruit that already comes in the liquid because I don't have time in the morning
Yes.
to do the
Did
whole
you
grapefruit
not
thing.
know?
It says specifically on it that it's no sugar added, but in teeny, teeny, tiny letters, it says artificially sweetened, which I didn't realize until I got home and tasted it and could tell there was an artificial sweetener in there. I could just taste
Although I will argue that grapefruit does need a little bit of help.
it. It does need help, but I'd rather sweeten it with something natural
Right.
like honey.
That you have control over.
Right.
Valid
and if you
point.
retrained your taste buds, you might really like the bitterness of it.
All right, so I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients are pretty much ready to
A
go.
lot of baking recipes have you do the wet
Oh,
ingredients
I
and dry
lied.
ingredients.
I lied. Oh, the flavor. Okay,
I'm turning this on.
we need some cinnamon. I'll just yell over it. All right, so we need 1 tablespoon of cinnamon.
And if you don't like cinnamon, our
Then you
sister
don't have-
Corey does not care for
Yes.
cinnamon.
Which I don't understand. I think it's a delicious
not for
ingredient.
everybody.
I know, different things work for different people.
You can totally leave the cinnamon out.
And then we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of baking, this is important, baking soda.
Make sure. And it's in a canister that looks very much like my baking powder.
Ooh.
Yeah, but I like the
baking
canisters because it
soda.
has the
It is,
leveling thing.
yeah, it's got the little level thing.
I know. Someone who is so smart. All right, I'm turning this on again.
Okay, I'm done with my thing anyway.
It's going to be quick.
Okay.
So
I'm
yeah,
zhuzhing my ingredients.
zhuzh it up. I think these are all well combined. Whoops. I don't like raisins, so like I said, the recipe had initially called for raisins. I don't love raisins, so I've been doing a lot of baking with dates. We're actually going to use dates in the
dates are
protein
fun.
bars. Again, natural sweetness.
Okay, and then we've got our eggs. I'm gonna get my eggs
Oh yeah,
going.
get the eggs going, if I can get this out of here. And I mean, I guess the dates kind of look like raisins, but I don't know what my issue is with raisins. I've never liked them.
Ever?
No,
Really?
I don't know why.
Oh,
All right,
they're a tasty little treat.
they are. That's all in, and there is some honey in this. We did a nutrition challenge at my CrossFit at Resilience over January, February, and we couldn't use any sweetener. Like
Any at
none.
all.
So that's actually where I decided to blend the dates in for my sweetness because I couldn't put the honey in.
Ooh.
But it's only 2 tablespoons of honey, so it's not a lot. And again, it's natural. I feel like everything in moderation.
Yes.
Although my
Especially
kids,
throughout an entire recipe, I feel like 2
Yes,
tablespoons of
right.
honey is,
and my kids would drink honey if they could.
it is good stuff.
It also calls for half a cup of coconut oil, which again is high in fat, high in good fats, but that's another reason I kind of offset it with the white whole wheat flour instead of all the almond meal, because it does help take away from some of that. So we're gonna mix all the wet together, all the dry
Oh,
together.
I'm adding eggs.
Yeah, go ahead. And you can use
Don't
your-
forget the vanilla. Did you do the
Oh,
vanilla?
Nope, I was gonna forget it. Good thing I have ya. We'll need that maybe. Teaspoon of vanilla. Here we go, more flavor.
She's measuring.
Look at this. I'm measuring. But now look at all the cleanup we have to do. I was really good and I pre-measured. I did our mise en place pre-measuring, and then you have to wash. I mean,
Mise en
Tom has to
place.
wash all those
Yeah, poor Tom.
measuring tools.
Yeah.
But I knew you'd be proud of me. Whisk.
Whisk.
Let's whisk that up. Go ahead, you can stir that in. And then we will get our dry ingredients.
Throw that bad boy
I
in.
like to mix it all separate first. A lot of baking recipes
Yes.
do. Just gets everything evenly combined.
Am I whisking or folding?
You can whisk. All right. I had to flex my arm so it didn't jiggle when I did that.
I know everybody worries about the arm jiggle, but
know.
when the muscle's not contracted, it's gonna jiggle.
That is such a personal trainer thing to say.
All right, I'm ready.
All right. Can I get it all out? No, it's stuck in
Oh my
there.
goodness.
The almond meal's a little sticky. And this time of year with summer coming,
And actually, I like this better.
I keep all my nut flours in the fridge because nuts do spoil.
Oh, that's a good point, actually.
So you want to keep them in the
I
fridge.
often forget. Do you
Yeah.
keep your regular flour in the fridge?
No.
Yeah.
I honestly go through it quite a bit, but it doesn't. It's not like it sits there for a year. Right.
Yeah, so I think that the spatula works better right now.
Okay. So she's recommending a spatula. All right. Then I like to use my handy dandy
Ice cream
ice
scooper?
cream scooper. We actually don't really use it much for ice cream at my
Yeah.
house. I'm not a big ice cream fan.
We try not to have it in the house.
Yeah, well, that too.
Okay.
All right, and then we're just gonna scoop. I like the ice cream scooper because then they're all the same amount, and this isn't like a batter that you can pour it in. If you can see, it's
It is
really
pretty thick.
It's pretty thick,
Yeah.
but I promise they're gonna cook up. That was a great demo. I promise they're gonna cook up into an actual muffin. When I make these for the kids, I stir in mini chocolate chips,
Good idea.
and I do
Ooh, I
mini.
bet dry cranberries in there might be tasty.
Oh, that would be yummy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little more sugar, but
That's all right.
chocolate chips would too.
Well, yeah, but they're mini and they're just a
Yeah.
little bit. And I make the mini muffins for them too. Because mini's cute.
It is cute.
I mean, I do it in the big muffins too.
Although if you're like my kids, well, Riker wants the big. Anything bigger is better.
Yeah. You know what I wish they would do though with the mini chocolate chips is make them in a dark chocolate. Because I
would be
do
nice.
try
I
to
know.
use dark chocolate because it's a healthier option.
You should write to them and ask.
I should. The Sabines Cuisine Nation should protest and say, you need to come up. And, oh, the other thing I do when I make this, I double it usually. This is a single batch. It will make, actually a little bit
It
more
does
than
make
12.
a little more.
And then I
bet
freeze
these
them.
freeze great.
They freeze awesome. And this is often my breakfast before, because I don't work out till 9, so I don't want to eat like a full breakfast before my workout.
That makes sense.
And so I'll eat one of these.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pull it right out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm gonna get these in the oven. We're gonna get them going, and then we're gonna set up for our second 2 recipes. All right, we'll see you in a bit. All right, welcome back. We have our muffins in the oven.
They smell delicious.
They really do smell good. And you know what's making the smell amazing? The cinnamon.
Yep.
Bethany's going to be working on our coconut energy bites. At least that's what we call them in my house.
We call them nut clusters in my house. This actually, I gave you this recipe, if you don't remember.
You did, and I
Sabine's Cuisine did.
just a little bit. I had to make little alterations because you can actually start measuring. She's going to do. We'll post the recipes. We'll try to tell you what we're doing in it if you want to follow along.
Yeah.
But just add it because.
Just add,
go ahead.
okay.
She's going to do the oats.
We've got oats.
And so that was, we doubled this recipe too. Again, if you're going to make this, you need to double it.
Quadruple
Yes.
this recipe because I'm telling you, making the balls, making the nut clusters, I hand roll mine.
What?
Well, okay, I have 2 little kids at home and we freeze these. They freeze awesome.
They are wonderful.
And
You need to keep them refrigerated
So my
frozen.
under 2-year-old, I make them a little bit smaller for her because the big ones, when they get soft, they fall apart a little
Yes.
bit and they get really messy. So if they're little bite-sized ones, so I hand roll them.
Okay, to make small ones, just fill this halfway.
So we've got oats, we've got flax meal, we've our unsweetened dried coconut
Yep.
for our dry ingredients.
And so for this one, we're doing, typically the recipe called for almond butter, but I'm gonna do sun butter. It's
Which I've
ground
never
up
tried
sunflower
before, so I'm a
seeds.
little excited to try.
It has a really nice nutty flavor to it, ironically, because it's sunflower, and now your kids can't call them nut clusters because there's really no nuts in here. This is a nut-free version.
Fine.
So they're just clusters. Call them oat
and then
clusters.
Oat clusters. And then we've got cocoa nibs. I haven't been adding them because I don't have them on hand. So you can take it or leave it, or if you have the little mini chips,
When
you
I
could
make
add
them for
those.
the kids, I do the mini chocolate chips because the cacao nibs can be very hard. For the Carver won't eat them. He calls these coconut cookies.
Okay. Fair enough.
He's my sweet tooth kid. So again, they are sweet.
Yes.
So what I do is you need the honey to keep them together, but I didn't want to have to
Yes.
use so much honey.
Well, but I keep the chocolate chips out because I didn't want the sugar.
Right. So I incorporated some coconut oil into the
Yes.
recipe because then it helps with that factor of keeping them together because you have to refrigerate or freeze them.
Okay.
You have to do
changing
one or the other.
I'm changing. So this butter works a little different than my almond butter.
Oh,
It's a little.
use the smaller one.
Yeah, well, because what I
was
do
gonna
at
say, this
home.
thing is huge.
I know, but what I do at home, because I quadruple this recipe, so I take a big
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
I dump all the honey, and I just keep measuring it instead of having to get measuring cups dirty.
I have one of those
my little trick.
tubes that measures the liquid and you can push it right out.
Ooh, what is
It's
that?
a Pampered Chef thing. I should have brought that.
I'm seriously, I've never seen.
I don't know
How
why I
do
didn't
you-
bring it.
I love gadgets. You
I
know this.
Oh, that would have been a perfect
Oh,
one.
I've never seen this
'Cause
before.
It's great for the honey and the butter.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I'm gonna mix all these wet ingredients into my dry, and then
And then
we'll
she's
make
gonna
some
scoop them.
clusters.
Yeah. Try filling it only halfway and see how small they are.
They're still for she's 2. Like
All right.
It's a mess.
I don't want my niece to choke. So, all right. She's gonna and don't forget the coconut oil over there too.
yes, I see coconut.
She's
oil.
gonna put all those together and then scoop them out onto the baking sheet, and then I just throw this in the freezer, freeze them individually, and then throw them in a Ziploc bag.
Yes.
We're gonna keep an eye on those muffins. Hold on, I'm actually gonna
Yeah.
watch
I
my
smell them.
technology here. Set timer for 2 minutes.
What kind of world do we live in?
I know. I heard something like there's a Google Assistant out there, and I'm like, I think I need that in my life. All right. I am making my new favorite snack. These are a great nighttime dessert type snack, or as Carver likes
I do these for breakfast.
Carver does them for breakfast.
You can do them whenever you want.
You can, but I think they're sort of desserty. I'm doing a chocolate sea salt protein bar. This is from Love and Olive Oil.
Sounds delicious.
I actually think I follow this recipe to a T. I didn't have to do anything, although I did add espresso powder because I felt like it went really well with the chocolate. It kind of brings the chocolate out a little bit. So I'm gonna add that.
Do you give that to your kids?
I don't put a lot in there. It's not like it's gonna keep them up all night. These in here are ground up almonds and cashews. You're supposed to process it for 3 to 5 minutes, but I didn't want to shadow her.
Thank you.
So I did it for a couple minutes already. It's going to turn into sort of a nut butter texture, but I don't take it quite that far. You do have to stop it every once in a while so it cakes up on the side. So I do stop it every once in a while and scrape it in there. And it'll start to actually get kind of buttery at the bottom. So you do have to scrape that up. This recipe then has you add in, there's a cup of almonds, a cup of cashews, and then I'm gonna do a cup of dates. And you just drop them in one at a time. Whoa. There's some jumping
As
out
it jumps
here.
out of the thing.
All right, so I'm gonna add those. And then this has, because they're protein bars, you have to get protein in there. It's an egg white protein powder. Have you ever heard of an egg white protein powder?
Yes. I'm not sure I've ever tried it, but I have heard of it.
I was not familiar with it. And you can use it probably in your shakes and in other things to add some
I wonder
protein.
if you could use any protein powder you have on hand.
You probably could. It would add whatever flavor your protein powder is, because these are going to be chocolate. So I guess if you had a chocolate one, timer. I'm going to check my, check our muffins here. You're looking for them to, you can do the toothpick test, but once they're sort of firm, they're done.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're totally
smell
done.
good.
And then we stuck the rest. I only brought one muffin tin, so we have another one in there as a little bread. We're making it, you could totally make it into a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
All right, back to my protein bars. So I have the dates in there. You want to get this really mixed up well. It's sort of like a homemade RX bar, so you want that kind of a consistency. I'm going to get in there and scrape it down a little bit. I like this food processor. It's really not as loud as that very first
Oh
one.
yeah, we had an episode.
So loud.
It was so loud.
All right, I'm going in, and I also love this recipe because it all goes in one thing.
Yes.
I put a bowl here for myself. I don't actually need it. I was over prepared. All right.
Okay, definitely mixing
Going
with your
all in.
hands is easier on this. We
Yeah?
forgot the gloves. But
I know, I'm sorry.
I might have to go
Well,
in
if your hands are washed and you don't, can you get your ring, or mix it with the hand without the ring so it doesn't get all clumped in there?
Well, I'll just have to take it off and just not forget it.
All right,
Yes,
I
my
added
hands are
in
clean.
my protein powder and my cocoa powder. I'm not gonna measure. I probably put in about a teaspoon or
I mean,
two.
there are certain ingredients you can get away with.
This is flavor. Typically when I'm baking I'm
But yeah, I
teaching
feel like if you're using like baking soda, baking powder, like those things
very
are sort
strict,
of
the
important.
flours. But if it's the flavorings, then I'm not so concerned about it. And then you have to add some water. So I'm just gonna put some in here. And this is not, it says between 2 to 4 tablespoons of water. So you just sort of need to add it till it gets to a certain consistency, which I'm gonna show you. 'Cause right now it's just very powdery. I'm gonna start off with the 2 tablespoons, but I know I'm gonna need more. All right, we're going back on. How you doing over there?
Good, we're almost there.
Much better with the hands.
It's
kind of like meatballs. You
better.
have to mix meatballs with the hands.
I have, so I used to buy like just the regular, like, I guess latex-free rubber gloves.
Yeah.
To have on hand for various things around the house, and then I ran out of them, and then I went on Amazon and found a package that had like 500, but they were the food grade ones,
Yeah.
like you would see at a restaurant. But they're gigantic. They don't fit well. I have to use elastic bands, but I have like a box of 450 left.
Yeah, that's
Sort
why
of-
sometimes buying in
So
bulk
I
is not
sort of have to
is
stick
not
with
good.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, gloves definitely make
To
this.
buy things like the cacao nibs, I did buy these in bulk because I go through a lot of them at my meal prep workshops.
Yeah.
So I did get these
Well,
on
and I feel
Amazon.
like they last forever.
They last forever. And then this is the egg white protein powder that I got. They had a couple different brands, but I really liked the bright orange. I thought it was pretty.
So yeah, so I sometimes, what I'll do is just roll and make little balls like that. Little clusters.
That's her method.
Yeah. Well, see, my hands are filthy. I figured I'd go for it. Okay, so you can refrigerate this recipe for an hour or so to help them form better.
I feel like they're hard to do though when
Well,
you refrigerate
so I
it.
actually, that was how the recipe originally, so I guess maybe I Bethany Gary'd it. And
That
I
doesn't
don't,
have such a great
it
ring.
doesn't. I don't refrigerate. I actually think that they form
Yeah, I
quite
think they're
lovely.
fine. And if they're not forming right and they're falling apart, chances are it's because you need more of either the nut butter or a little more honey.
I find
to
if they're
glue
too
them
sticky,
together.
a little bit of extra honey or coconut oil I find helps.
Yeah, a little more coconut oil. So that's
them bind a little
that's my
better.
little half one, and that's the full one.
Okay, the half one's cute.
So, all right.
All right,
That's
I'll
my
wash and
contribution.
continue.
I want I want to show you the consistency of our. Let me move this over here. Too much stuff. So this is. You want it to be sort of sticky. You don't want it to get too wet. This I'm going to add a teeny bit more. It's not fully mixed either, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more water. I'm probably at 4 tablespoons now. There we go. Oops, I'm making a mess. All right, back on. Gonna get this all processed. And then these are gonna go into a baking dish, flatten them out. Oh, can you do me a favor and take the bread out, please, now that you're clean? So this is sort of like a dough, essentially. It's all
yeah, we have a little
clumpy together. It's not pretty, but, but it works. All right, I'm taking this out. So do you see how it's kind of sticky?
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna clump it out. And this too, sometimes I will put a glove on and flatten it because it won't stick to my hands as much. But, and then you just press it into a pan. And the best part is the sea salt. Yeah. I feel like it makes it. Oh, did we add salt into that? I don't
No.
know if I have it in that recipe or not.
It's not.
That
You
was
could.
that was another addition I did because, although let me check this, because I think when I do the sun butter, I don't add salt. That's why I didn't do it. If I do almond butter or cashew butter is really good with these too.
Ooh, cashew
I
butter. I
use
love
raw, unsalted nuts. So I just find when you add a little bit of salt to it, it just sort of brings the flavors out better.
It's a good idea.
Thanks. I try. All right, this is all pushed in here together. And you can use a bigger dish and make them thinner if you want. These are going to be thicker bars, so I probably will cut them smaller. And I'm going to go in with my salt.
She's too excited about salt.
A sprinkle. And I like texture on these. When I make these for the kids, I don't put anything else on top. The recipe says you could put some crushed nuts on here. The cacao nibs I will do, because this is going to be for me. Actually, you know what? I'll send you home with these.
Thanks.
You can have these. And then you just have to press them in because they won't stay in otherwise. And these go in the refrigerator. I let them get nice and cold, and then I'm going to cut them into bars.
Yummy.
And usually I'll put them in a Tupperware with parchment in between them. I suppose you could freeze them as separate bars and then stick them in a Ziploc bag, but
That could work.
I mean, how pretty.
I feel like anything you can make in bulk and freeze and have on hand
Yes.
is
So I try to get
phenomenal.
myself at least through a couple of weeks with these
Yes.
snacks because I think I pretty much do eat them. I probably don't eat all 3 every day,
Yeah.
but the muffins and the protein bars are definitely go-to. All right. How are we doing?
We're good.
Good.
So, I mean, this is the time-consuming part of this recipe is making the nut clusters or the energy bites. So
Yeah.
that's what, sometimes I'll make the dry ingredients, put them in a Ziploc bag, and then
Great
put the
tip.
wet ingredients all in that big measuring cup and just set them aside. Don't mix it and leave it for a day or two. I tried that once. I could not get the consistency back to where they would stay together. They fell apart.
Really?
Oh, I really struggled.
So I do that. I actually make them ahead.
Maybe it works for you.
All right, so we talked about, we're gonna wrap up here.
Okay.
Because we just want to go eat. So, like I said, these will go in the fridge, the chocolate protein bars. The coconut clusters, those freeze on a baking sheet, and you can put them really tight together.
Yes.
She put them very pretty. You can try the muffin. I eat the muffins all the time.
Yeah, I've not had these.
So,
It's steamy.
yeah. And what I'll do when I take them out of the freezer, I just pop them in the microwave for 10, 20 seconds to let them defrost.
Perfect.
So good. And you might find they're not as sweet, so you could always add a little more honey
They're pretty good.
or a few more dates, but I've gotten to the point where I
Yeah.
don't need that sweet anymore. So, awesome. Hopefully we've given you some good ideas for some snacks so that you can avoid the binge
Yes.
snacking. It's not good. It's okay every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
I mean, you only live once. You
Yeah.
should enjoy some, like a bag of chips. Not the whole thing.
Right. A
but
small bag.
Yeah, a small bag here or there. And I will post these on my Sabine's Cuisine Facebook page and on my website so that you can make these at home with the Sabine's Cuisine versions of
Yes.
them because they're really good. So I hope you enjoy them. And then we'll maybe come up with another snack episode.
Yeah, there's got to be some really good things we can come up with.
Yeah, I'm always looking for new ones.
Yeah. So if you have any ideas,
Oh yeah, send them. We'll take them. All right. I hope you join us next time on our quest for a cleaner plate. Thanks.